Good news, everybody. We can all go to our trash cans and push aside the empty Pop-Tart wrappers to find those black plastic kitchen utensils we all threw away a few months ago because the mainstream media told us that scientists discovered they were actually going to literally kill us. Because it turns out that recommendation was based on a typo, or a math error, if you prefer. The study in question incorrectly said that 7,000 times 60 equals 42,000, and now I have no way to move mulled wine from the slow cooker into my mug. Thanks for nothing, science. In case you missed it, back in October, the news hit that a new study found dangerously high levels of a cancer-causing ingredient in black plastic objects, which includes things that touch our food, like my dearly departed ladle or sushi takeout trays, as well as toys like plastic beaded necklaces that we give to kids to gnaw on. The paper in question was published in the journal Chemisphere and was authored by researchers working for Toxic Free Future, a nonprofit that's been around for about 40 years, advocating for consumer safety, which these days seems mostly focused on so-called forever chemicals, or PFAS. If you want to know more about PFAS, I first talked about it back in 2020 when a similar nonprofit, the Environmental Working Group, released a report saying that they found these chemicals in the drinking water for nearly 50 cities around the United States. I pointed out that EWG has a lengthy history of identifying real areas of concern, but then using exaggerated claims of risks in order to grab headlines. That report was no different. They failed to differentiate between any of the hundreds of different chemicals that fall under the PFAS label and exaggerated some research that finds there may be some health risks linked with some of these chemicals. PFAS are now in nearly everything we use, especially to make things water or oil or fire resistant. Candy wrappers, nonstick pans, wire insulation, millions of products. And they're called forever chemicals because over time, researchers have realized they don't tend to degrade. They just kind of float around in our environment and often end up in our bodies. They were originally assumed to be inert, but now researchers are starting to notice a correlation with the industrial production of some of these chemicals and an increase in things like cancer and infertility. So it's probably best that we limit the production of these chemicals and limit the amount of stuff that is in our lives. But at this point, there's only so much that the individual can do to protect themselves because, industry has already blasted this stuff everywhere. So now we need to call upon the government to fund more research and, if necessary, ban certain dangerous chemicals and force industries to clean them up. Like governments used to do back in the good old days. Remember when Republican President Richard Nixon established the Environmental Protection Agency? Pepperidge Farm remembers. So this new research from Toxic Free Future is certainly not unwelcome. We do need to know about the areas of greatest concern, and their finding was interesting. There are brominated flame retardants, or BFRs, in black plastic utensils and toys. Now, you might think, well, of course, I don't want my black plastic ladle to burst into flames when I sink it into my molten broccoli cheddar soup. It should be flame retardant. But no, the flame retardants aren't a feature, they're a bug. The problem is that these utensils are made from recycled plastic, which usually would be a good thing, right? But in this case, it's not. The original purpose of the plastic used was in electronics, which is why they have that flame retardant chemical in them. No one is expecting you to heat up your PC mouse and stick it in your mouth, so it might not matter much if it has some chemicals that might be linked to cancer, but definitely prevent your mouse from spontaneously combusting during a particularly lively game. But when that plastic goes to the recycling center, things get tricky. They use infrared machines to identify plastics for recycling, but black plastic is often missed by those machines, sending that plastic into landfills. So to make a product from recycled black plastic, some manufacturers rely instead on e-waste like your black PC mouse. So this study did find that black kitchen utensils and toys contain chemicals like the fire retardant known as deca-BDE, which the EPA banned in the United States last year due to its possible links to cancer. But here's where we get to the same old story that I see again and again with these environmental watchdog groups, the hyperbole. And in this case, it wasn't just the organization saying, hey, your spatula is going to give you cancer. The study specifically noted that the levels of deca-BDE they found in the utensils could result in a person consuming 34,700 nanograms per day, which they said approached the EPA's safety limit, which is 7,000 nanograms per kilogram of body weight. They claim that for a 60 kilogram or about 130 pound adult, that was 42,000 nanograms per day, which, it isn't. It's 420,000 nanograms per day. The levels they found didn't even hit 10% of the EPA's limit. And hey, I get it more than anybody. I make at least one video every year with a really obvious math mistake that I have to then clarify in the transcript and description. But I'm not publishing in a peer-reviewed journal. It is bonkers to me that this typo made it through to be published. Not only should the authors feel humiliated, but Chemisphere's editors should be ashamed as well. Toxic Free Future published a correction, but insisted that this calculation error does not affect the overall conclusion of the paper, which kind of buries the point. The overall conclusion was that there are recycled e-waste materials being turned into kitchen utensils and children's toys, leaving them with traces of fire retardants, sure. But 1,000 breathless articles would probably never have been written about this study if they admitted that those traces are far, far below what is considered even potentially harmful. People across the world probably wouldn't have rushed to chuck their black plastic spatulas into the trash if they knew the only danger was if they threw it in the oven, melted it down, and drank it like a daily forbidden smoothie. And now we just have a bunch more black plastic waste headed to landfills. So, do you need to throw away your black plastic utensils? Probably not, no. But if it's damaged or melted at all, yes, sure, toss it. Should you buy black plastic kitchen utensils in the future? No, of course not. I mean, sure, one reason is that there might be some dangerous chemicals in them in some amount, but more importantly, they suck. I actually do have a black plastic spatula or turner or flipper, or whatever you want to call it. I inherited it from my partner. It's my step spatula. And you know what? I hate it. It lifts things off a hot pan about as well as a playing card would. It works better as a fly swatter than a flipper. Sucks. So no, don't buy crappy plastic utensils. Go to your local restaurant and supply store and get yourself the kind of kitchen tool that can survive the apocalypse. Or Sunday brunch service. I was a short order cook. It's the same thing. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you loved the video, please subscribe. And if you think the world could use more videos like this and you happen to have a few bucks laying around, head to patreon.com/Rebecca and join an awesome community of nerds like the people whose names you see on the screen right now. Thanks.